Hello and welcome to an exciting tutorial where we convert a PHP website into a Windows desktop application. So a little while back I had a client that wanted a point of sale for their shop, and so I created the point of sale as a desktop application, but I used PHP and JavaScript to do so, which is much easier when coding rather than using Visual Studio for Windows applications. So I thought I'd do a tutorial and show you the process of how I managed to achieve that. So if you've been following along with my tutorials, you probably know this website right here. And this is the live chat application. So I want us to convert this into a desktop application. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and believe it or not, it's actually quite simple. So what we're going to do is we will need a few files in order to do this. So we will convert this. So let me go to my folder here. I have 3 files here. So you will need SQlite browser, Innosetup, and phpdesktop. So we will get to these 2 later. Let's start with this one. So just go to your Google and type in phpdesktop, right? And you get this link here, which leads you to GitHub, and you see the PHP desktop right here, right there. So once you click that link, it takes you to GitHub here. Now, for those of you that don't know GitHub, it's a very powerful website for version control. I'll probably do a tutorial in the near future over this. But once you get here, you click on code here, and then you download the zip file. Okay, so once you download that zip file, you will have this file right there. So let's see what this contains. So what you do is you extract it here. So hopefully you have I have WinRAR installed here, but you can since it's a zip file, even Windows can extract it to a folder. So let's try and extract here. So I'll say extract here. Okay, so I get this folder called PHP desktop, and if I open, this is what I get. So instead I would change this this folder name to let's try my chat, since that's our website name. So I'm changing it to my chat and opening it there. And so as you can see here, once you get here, let me enlarge these guys here. Okay, so once you get in here, there's the app here, which is the application, and then there's the settings.json. So these are the most important. And then there's, if you look here, there's PHP, right? And then there's www there. Okay. So now, if I double click on this, this is the actual application. So let me rename this to my chat as well. You can name it anything you want. So if I double click on this one now, and this is what you see. Okay, so here is your desktop Chrome, and then this is for the command line for debugging. So this actually shows you what's happening with the server here, and what files are being loaded in the. If I click on something here, you will see the command line change, as you can see there. So it's showing what's being accessed and what errors are probably encountered during that. So that could be good for troubleshooting, right? I click go back. So if you notice, this is a fully fledged website here that's running at this point. So as you can see here, there's a PHP version, and this is PHP version 7.1, right? This is yeah, version 7.1. So the first thing we need to do is this. Let me show you something here. Let's get rid of the command line first. So let me close this for a second. And then if I open my Sublime Text, so you can use any text editor of your choice. Let me close this. Now if I come back to, where is the wrong folder? So there is this settings.json. So if I drag this and drop it in here, you will see that there's a bunch of settings I can change. So for example, there was that command line that was showing, right? So if I come to debugging here, there is this part which says show the console, and it's set to true right here. So just set that to false. And you will notice that the next time you start the application, right there, the console did not show. So this is how you edit your settings on the app. So you can just go through all these settings and see what you kind of like. And if you want it to start, for example, you want to start full screen. Once the program loads, you want it full screen, just put that to true, and let's save that. Then once I close it and open it again, it will start in full screen mode. So that's how you do it, but the buttons are not showing here, so full screen is not really good. There's a difference between full screen mode, so let me undo that, and maximized. So let's just try maximized to true. That way we get our buttons are still there, the minimize, restore and close buttons. So it could be that you want this kind or you want the full screen mode. So now what it's showing here is a website that is embedded inside these files. So that website is here inside www folder right there. So if you notice on the settings themselves, there is, let's come back here. Where is this? There's the directory folder. There's www. So you can change this folder to any folder that you want, right? So you can do something like www/public like this. Or if you want, you can completely change this whole folder and this just say it's htdocs folder that has the files, something like that. So it's entirely up to you what you want to do with that. So just to know that you can change those settings there. So currently this is set to the www folder. So what I will do now to show you how this works is to delete all files. So I'm going to select all files in here and just press the delete button. There we go. So not to worry, because these files are available. In case we need them, we can just extract the zip folder again and then we will get them. But for now, we don't actually need them. So if now I open this project, you see that it shows the index of that area because there's nothing in there. So I will minimize it for a second and then go in there, and then I'll go to my Sublime text. So keep note of the path here. I will come here and create a new file, and then I will put some PHP tags there. Okay, so right there I'll say PHP info. Let me save this first. So right here I will go to desktop, PHP my chat, and then inside www I will put index.php like that and save. So I'll say PHP info like that. This shows us the PHP, or before I do this, let me just say something like echo here, something we can see that is simple enough so you can tell. If I refresh, I press F5 now, you see that there's here there. Now if you don't want the ability for the user to hit F5 for refresh, you can just go to the settings and it's actually there. So there's something here, reload page F5, it's equal to true, so you can set that to false. And also there's a menu here. When I right click, there's a context menu here which goes like show developer tools, so that somebody can see the developer tools here if they needed to, right? There's also printing, there's reload here, there's so if you don't want this menu to be showing, you can simply disable it. So you can disable these one by one, or you can just say context menu, enable menu, false, and then the menu will not show anymore. Or you can disable individual things individually here. That's entirely up to you to make it look more like a desktop application and not a website. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So just by putting this index file here, you see that we are able to access it here, so which is cool. Now what that means is that if I go, let me remove the index file now, close it, minimize, and then if I now go to my htdocs where I have the in C XAMPP, where I have my website, which is my chat, which is this one here, I can simply copy everything that is in here except what I don't need, of course, that. I can copy all that and then come back to the www folder and then paste in here. I'll tell it to replace my replace. Yes, so it has replaced. Now if I come back here, you will see that once I refresh the page, I have my website inside a desktop application. Oh, look at that. It's that simple. And then the interesting thing is it's still reading from my PHP admin. If I do that .com and then I do password like that, it's going to log me in and it will still have the same exact data that I had while I was running it on my website. So as you can see, it's practically identical like that. There we go. Okay, so you see exactly the same data because it's reading from the same website. So you can install your MySQL server and then install the desktop app and it will read from there. But what if you want something simpler? You don't want to read from MySQL, you want something more portable. So that's what we're going to check out now, how to do that. But before we go that far, there's an issue that you might want to fix. So let's say, for example, here, let me come back here for a second. If I come back to the www folder and just delete what is in here, just so we can do some more experimentation. And then I'll create a new file here, save it. I'll save it back here as index.php. Okay, here we go. So let me put my PHP tags and then I will put something like PHP info. This is the function to show you the information on the current PHP version that you have. So if I refresh now, this is what I get. So as you can see, I have PHP version 7.13. Now, sometimes you may want to use an earlier version of PHP or much a later version, like the latest version. And you may think that it's not possible to upgrade, but it is. So if I come back to the folder itself, you see there's a folder here for PHP, and this contains all the PHP files right there. So what I could do instead is, if you go to your Google and go to php.net, so you look for php.net here and then you open php.net, click on downloads, you see a list of downloads for PHP. So you can click on Windows downloads, which will take you to this page right here. Not the best designed page out there, but you could look for your version of PHP that you want. So there's version 8 here, but I want just to prove a point. As you can see, we have 7.1 currently installed on our desktop, PHP desktop file. So if I got even this 7.4, we will definitely see that there's a difference. So once you come here to download, you might feel you don't know where to click, because there's non-thread, there's threaded, thread safe, and non-thread safe. So just click on the thread safe here and click the zip file. Click there and the download will begin. So once you download that, you're going to have it in your folder. So you have something like, actually wait a second here. So I had downloaded a few of these. I have PHP 8 here, I have PHP 7. So let me just copy the 7.4 right there and bring it to our folder. So once you download, this is what you're going to have. So very small file there, 24 megabytes, and I will extract it. So I'll extract it there to this folder. So if I open here, this is what I get. So if I copy all files in here, just select all and copy from this PHP. All right, and then let's go to our application, this one that we're creating, and then let's go inside its PHP here and select all, or without selecting, just a paste here. So of course it will ask you to replace files, and just say replace, just like that. So just by doing that, we've upgraded our PHP. So as you can see here, there was 7.1 on our application, but if I refresh now, you'll see that we have version 7.4, right? That's how you upgrade your PHP with this thing. So it's that simple, just copy and paste. All right, so now that we have that out of the way, I can now go back to my where is this? My website, where my website is in Drive C, and copy it and paste it. But let me add one more thing here. Let me come back to my index.php. Let's remove this. We'll just say echo, this is the home page, something like that. And let's come back here and let's refresh, reload. Okay, so now what this means is that if you create your website, let's say you add more than just the index file here, which is this one running here. So you create your website in here, you do everything with your correct version of PHP, and then once you are done, in order to go and give somebody this application, all you have to do is copy this folder, okay, put it on your flash drive, and then just paste it anywhere on the user's computer, and then just open this and put a desktop shortcut for this very application there, and that's it. And then from there it begins to run as a Windows application. So it's that simple. But in my case, where I had to create a point of sale, I definitely needed a database. Now the problem, like I had mentioned earlier, with these databases is that they're quite heavy. For example, MySQL server, you have to install PHP admin if you are going for that, or you have to download MySQL server and put it there. But in my opinion, for an application that is a standalone desktop application, you don't need a database this big. Okay, so I'm going to show you how we're going to use MySQL server instead, or MySQLite instead of MySQL server, so that instead of having to install MySQL server, all you need to do is put in one extra file here, which is the database, and that will be it. So you'll be able to copy this and simply paste it on your user's computer, and it will run like a desktop application. So let me go to my browser here, and you go to SQlitebrowser.org, or you can just search for SQlite browser. This right there, just search for that and you see a website here, .org, and then you can come to this and then click on download, and then you'll be able to download. It's a very small file. Let me come back here. This is the file right here, just 17 megabytes, and you're up there. So just install this. I've already installed it, so no need for me to install this. So that's why it's asking me to change or repair or whatever that is. So I will cancel this. Are you sure? Yes, I am sure. So what we will do instead is we're just going to launch it. I will say SQDB browser right there. So let's launch that. Okay. Right, I don't know why. All right, so at this point you can create a new database. So let's go back to our folder. So our folder is in here, my chat, and then there's www there, and then we are here where we have our index page, right? So let's create a website with database support. So I will click on new database and just go to the same folder here, PHP, my chat, www, and just put the database there. So I'm just going to say my chat underscore db, and I will save it there. Save. So once I save, now I'm prompted to put some tables in here. So quite all right. I will put my users table there. I'll call it users. And as you can see, while I type here, it's showing me the SQL that is responsible for what I'm doing. So here it just says create table users, because that's all I've given it. But I can add things like ID. So let me add an ID field, and I'll leave it at integer, and I'll say this PK is primary key, and then auto increment AI and not new. You can use that if you want. And you will see that it updates the SQL query here to match what I'm doing. So let's just make something simple here. I'll add something and say first name, something like this. Oh, I don't want to leave spaces here. I'll put underscore name. And then now the thing is with SQlite is it's got very simple types here. So it's just integer, text, blob. Real is for decimal numbers. Numeric is just, I think this is whole numbers. Real is for decimal numbers. So if you're dealing with money, it's going to be real. Numeric is just a number, I guess. Blob, text. Blob is for files like images and so on, but I don't recommend you save images in the database anyway. So text, there we get. We don't put anything else there. I would just say add last name, last underscore name, like that, and let's put text there again. And we can also add the date at this point. And now the thing is, it doesn't have a date type, so we use text instead. Okay, so first name, last name, date. I think for now this is just for illustrative purposes, this should be enough. And so I will say okay at this point. And so I have tables, these two, there's this that SQlite has created and the users table right there. Okay, now if I want to add an index to these, because for searching and so on, I will create an index here. I'll say create index, and then I'll add everything that requires an index to this side. So this is the wrong table, so I select the right table, that's users, and then I go here. I want to be able to search for the name. I will add that, maybe last name, and then this is a compound index, so it will index these two at the same time. So I will just save this one as names. That's the index name. So as you can see here, there's a query down there which is showing exactly how to achieve this using queries alone. So I'll say okay, and then come back to indexes and add one more. Make sure I am on the right table, users, and I will add one more index for date, just to make it a separate index there. And just say okay. So now 2 indices and 1 table. I can add more tables and so on, but for now this should be enough. Okay, so if you want to add some data here, you can click browse data here, browse data, and then you select your table, and then you can directly add some data here and it will be added to this once you click apply. So you type something and click apply there, and it's supposed to save that. Okay, but for now, let's save the database. We are done. As you can see, oh, sorry there. As you can see in my www folder, a database has been created, but it's not yet saved. So let me just close this, and it will ask me to save, and I will hit save. And now I have this file right there, which is my database. Okay, so how exactly do we connect to this database? Now that is very simple. I will right click here and click rename, just so I can copy the file name. I will select everything, copy, and then come back here in my index page, right? So let's create a connection string here. Now to connect this, I will use PDO, because PDO allows me to use many different types of connections. So I'll say PDO, or I'll just say connection, like con is equal to new PDO, like that. And then in there, let's put our connection string. Now the connection string is very simple. It's just SQLite, like so. And then let's put our full colon like that. And then let's put the path to our database. Since the database is inside the same folder, I would just write it like that. Now, if the database were in another folder like DB, I'll just say DB/, and then I'll do that, and then it will find the database. So in this case, it's in exactly the same folder, so I'll just do it like that way. So if I come back here and try to refresh our page, I press F5 or right click and reload, you see that I don't get any errors, and that's because this actually worked. If this was in a folder, for example, so let's try that as well, so you don't get these errors. DB, you might want to put it in another folder, so I'll copy and drag it in there. So at this point I will put db / like so, hit save, come back here and reload. So if I don't get any errors, we are good to go. Now if there was any error for some reason, let me just sabotage this intentionally and right click. You see that you have this error, uncaught PDO exception, could not find the driver, and that's because it doesn't recognize what I've written here, because this is the driver name. But if I type the file name differently here, let's refresh. Oops, so it seems it doesn't actually tell me anything there. So let's give it a test to see if we actually have a connection. So here I'll just say print readable con. So let's see what connection has there. So I'll right click and reload, and it's a PDO object, which means we are connected. So at this point, let's create a query where we can add some stuff here, right? So let's see if we can do, let me come back here and let's create a query. I'll say query is equal to, since there's nothing in this users table, so what I would say is insert into users. So there's first underscore name, comma, last underscore name. Oop. Sorry there, name, and then let's put the date as well, and that's about it. And then let's do values, open and close bracket like that, put our semicolon. I want to just copy this, copy that into there and paste, right? And then I will turn these into variables now. I'll do that, and I will do that, and then I will do that. Okay, then turn these into variables like so, like that, and like that. Okay, so that the order here is exactly the same as there. So we're inserting something in there. Now let's just give these variables some actual data. So let me come back here and let me copy this, put it there. First name is equal to, so let's add a first name there. I will duplicate this several times and change this one to date, change this one to last name. Now remember, our date is a string, but we can tell it to create an actual date we can use. So I'll say date like that, and YMD, and if you want time as well, just put that HIS like so, and then we have our date. And let's put a last name there like so. Okay, so great, now we have a query. So how do we run this query? Now it depends what you want to do with this PDO object. You can go with prepared statements, or you can just do a query. So I'll just say con like that, query like so, and then put the query there like that. Okay, so that should actually do. But if you want to use prepared statements instead, you can do it this way. You can say connection. I think prepared statements are better, just in case. So we're going to say con prepare like so. We prepare the query. So let's say this one is the statement. So we get a statement where we connection prepare, and then after that we use our statement to execute the query like that. And that's it. So we prepare the statement and then we execute it. And then at this point we can fetch if there's anything to be fetched. So let's try and run this. So as you can see, I don't see any difference. That's because probably I've added this item to the database. So I'll just put 2s at the end there, just so we can add 2 records, and I'll reload again. So I'm sure 2 records have been added. But let's confirm if these were actually added by changing our query to something that we can actually get data. So let me do this, and I will say, let me change our query here. I'm going to say select all from users. Yeah, just select all from users. That should be enough. So we prepare our query, execute it. But how do we get the data? So I'm just going to say data is equal to, we get our statement, fetch all, like that. And then what are we fetching? PDO. I like using objects, so I'll search object. I'll do fetch underscore object. Now if you want to search to return an array, you can do this. You can say assoc, like that. So we'll leave it there. So the data is what we've got. So let me copy this data and let's put it there so we can see the data. So let me refresh. And as you can see, we have 2 records there. Now I want to see it more clearly. So I will say echo a pre-tag here. And I'll duplicate the pre-tag, close this one and put this one here. Pre-tags make things look neater. So I'm going to reload. And as you can see now, we have 2 records here. There's this one and there's this one. So now the rest of it, you can use exactly the same queries that you use for MySQL. You can use them for SQLite. Now in cases where there are slight differences, you can simply Google how to do a specific query in SQLite as opposed to MySQL. But otherwise, this is pretty good because we have the date, we have the last name, first name, and so on. And we can do searches and everything we do in a normal website. So this is how you connect your database to, you connect to a local database. So now as you can see here, the database is here. This is the database file, right? This is created when you are using it, I think, or something, temporarily when you're reading from it. But otherwise, you have your portable database here. So all you have to do is put in a clean one here, a new one. You delete all the data and then come back here and copy the entire folder, go and paste it on the user, your client's computer, and that's it. They will have a fully functioning website right there. Okay. I want us to actually deploy this website, which is in my chat, the one here in our website here. So I want us to actually fully deploy it and make it ready to go to a client's computer. So what I will do is copy everything. After designing my website here, I will copy everything here, copy. Now I'm going to assume when you are creating your website here, you were using SQLite, okay? You are using this SQLite to create as your database and not MySQL. So that way it will mean your database will be part of these files here. Okay, so let's copy all those files, come back here to my chat. Let me close this. You don't need that anymore. That was for illustrative purposes only. And I will delete these files in here and paste some new ones. So once I do that now, I have a application which is like this, okay, fully functioning, even though this one is reading from my MySQL database. So I'm just going to assume yours is reading from SQLite, okay, and log in. Okay, so everything seems to be working fine. So you can make all the adjustments that you want to make it look as you wish. But then when you are done now, it's time to deploy. So how do you do that? So you are done here, you put all your files, you've upgraded your PHP, you've changed your settings, .json file to suit your needs. And now what do you do? So this is where Innosetup comes in. So you install this Innosetup. It's rather quite straightforward how you install this. You just choose your language, you accept the license, you can donate to these guys because this is a good initiative. and you can go next, create desktop. You select all your things and then you click install, but I've already installed it, so no need to do that. All I need to do is I just need to search for it, Innosetup compiler. So I'll click on it and here it is. So what it does here, it asks me to create a script that it's going to compile. So what I will do is create a new script using the wizard. So that's usually much better. So I'll click there and click OK. So here's the wizard and let's go next. Now here, this is where you name your application. So for example, I want mine to be my chat. So I'm just going to name it my chat there. I will put a version here. Mine is 1.0. And then you can put your company here. I'll say something like Relate Studios. And you can put your website there if you have one. I have none, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then where do you want the app to go? For me, I think the program files folder is okay, but if you have a custom folder, you can choose one here, but I'll leave it in program files. And then the application name will be my chat. That's fine. Allow users to change application folder. I think that's okay. The application doesn't need a folder. No, it does. So click next. And then here, it's going to show me where the application, I have to select the application here. So I'll click browse, go to where my app is, right? So this is my chat, the one I've just designed, and this is the mychat.exe. So I will open that. So allow user to start application after setup. That's okay. Now, this is an important part here. You have to add the folder of all the other files in here. So let's go to the desktop here. Where is this? PHP and my chat. So I will select the my chat folder, the whole folder, and say okay. Subfolders, of course, yes, include the subfolders. So let me go next now. And if you want to associate files, but I wouldn't recommend this, so I'll remove that. This is for if you have specific files that open with your app, you can associate them that way, but it depends on what you have. So I'll remove that on mine. And then create shortcut to main executable file. That's fine. Allow other users, sure. So license file, in case you have any of these, I don't, so next. Install mode administrative, that's fine. What language? English, good. So custom compiled output folder. So at this point, if I click browse, this is where the setup file will be sent once it is done. So I'll go to just put it in the PHP folder here. I'll say okay. And then what do you want to call the setup? So this is not very important because you can always rename this if you want. So I will say something like my chat setup, something like that. Custom icon file. So this one is the icon that you can add to your the icon that you can add to your setup if you want a custom icon so that it looks like your own thing here. So it's a pity that I do not have that. So let me just search for an icon I can use here. I actually wasn't prepared for this part right here. Let me steal an icon from here, right? So I'll get this icon. Now, this is very important. It has to be a .ico or .ico file. It shouldn't be a PNG or JPEG. It's going to cause an error. So make sure it's a real icon. So I'm going to get this one here, or maybe admin. What is this? I'll just use that one. And set up password. If you want a password for your setup, you can put it here, but I don't need any. So I'll just click next. Yeah, so leave this one ticked. Yes, use define compiler directives. That's fine. And finish. So would you like to compile your script now? Of course, compile it. Would you like to save the script? Yeah, sure. Why not? So this is a script that you can open later and change a few things, then compile to create the setup that you want. So by saving this, you're just saving the time that you took to create this using the wizard. So next time it's going to open this file which you can just hit compile, and then it will create your setup. You can change a few things here if you want, and then because this is a script that it follows. But if you don't mind redoing the setup again, the wizard, then there's no need to save here. So but let's just save for the sake of saving. Yeah, I'll say save. And now you can see it's compiling the files. So it's adding all the files one by one, the libraries here, the C libraries, and so on. Okay, so compile aborted. So it's saying the process cannot be accessed because it's being used by another process. So maybe what I did here is I had my application on here, so I have to make sure I close my app before trying to compile it. So let's run it again. So there we go. So updating icons. So the icon seems to be the problem here. So we should have chosen a different icon here. So let's go down here and look at what we can change in our script. Okay, one second here. So this is the icon right there. Okay, so setup icon, let's remove that. Let's try and run this again. So deleting my chat.exe output. What is going on? Okay, let me close this. Let me find out what's going on. I'll be right back. Alright, so it turns out it was giving that error because I had Sublime Text open and some of the files were open in there. So that's why it was saying in use by another system. So I put back the icon here because I had deleted that line there. So I put it back and I closed my Sublime Text. So close all programs that are using the files that you are about to compile, just to be sure. Okay, so it's compiling now. I think it will get to the end this time. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, here we go. Yeah, it's taking a bit longer than I remember, but it's a number of files. Okay, so almost there. Go. Updating version info, and I think we're at the end. And there we go. Goody. So no, let's cancel that. It was about to start the setup, so let's cancel that. So let's come back here and see. So this is the setup right here. This is the icon that I had chosen for my setup, and it looks good enough. So if I click on this now you do this on your client's when you're deploying on your client's computer. So say yes, and then here we go, program files. That's where I want to install the program, and I can browse to wherever I want, a different folder. But as you can see here, it says my chat version 1 setup, so everything is well set. And I click next, add a desktop shortcut. Okay, goody. And then let's click install. So it's installing now. Okay, so this installer makes it very easy for you to select where you want your files to go, and then you can actually launch your app right there immediately. So I'll click finish and my app shall be launched. So let's see that, and there we go. So it has been launched. Now if we go to program files, let me go to C, program files, you see that there's a folder here called my chat, and this is the list of our files here, and there's a www folder where we have our files there. So everything is well set, and then the important thing is that there's an install.exe here. So if I close this and you want to uninstall the program, you can simply uninstall from there, and let's uninstall this. Yes, and there we go. So it has been totally removed. So that's how you create a PHP app, deploy it, and create a setup file there. So I hope you found this lesson useful. You may have learned one or two new things here. So I will see you in another tutorial where we do something more exciting.